Adrift, adjective and adverb. In a drifting state, drifting, uncertainty, incertitude and doubt, a doubtfulness and dubiousness, a hesitation, suspense, perplexity or an embarrassment, a dilemma, bewilderment, a puzzle, a quandary, timidity, etc., and fear. Vacillation, wavering in termination, vague, hazy, foggy, an obscure ambiguousness, an open question, a blind bargain, a pig in a poke and a leap in the dark, a fallibility we all feel, an unreliability we all untrust, a precariousness. I hesitate when I'm adrift. I flounder. I miss my way. I wander aimlessly. I beat about. I lose myself. I lose my head, and I perplex those around me, and I pose, and I puzzle, and I confuse and confound, and bewilderment and doubt, etc., etc. I'm unsure, casual and random, aimless, doubtful and dubious, insecure and unstable. I'm indecisive for sure, and irresolute and unsettled, undecided, undetermined, and questionable, experimental, and tentatively tentative. I'm vague, indefinite, ambiguous, equivocable, undefined, confused, and mysterious, cryptic, and veiled obscurity. Undesirable, undefinable, oracular, perplexing, enigmatic, and paradoxical, apocryphal and problematic, cantankerous, fallible, questionable, debatable, untrustworthy, unreliable, and irresponsible. So, don't deal with me when I'm puzzled, pickled, perplexed, or I'm lost adrift at sea, at fault, at loss, or I'm at my wit's end, distracted and distraught and adrift.
You've been listening to Adrift, words and music by my in-studio guest, poet and performance artist, Mike Jurkovic. I'm Sharon Israel, and this is Planet Poet Words in Space. Hi, Mike.
Hey, good morning, evening, afternoon.
Good afternoon. That was great. I really enjoyed that.
Thank you.
I want to read your bio for everyone. Can you hear me? Yes.
I can hear you.
Okay. Mike Jurkovic's poetry collections include Mooncussers, American Mental, Lucador Press, 2020, Blue Fan Whirring, Nerala Press, 2018, and Smitten by Harpies and Shiny Banjo Catfish, Lion Autumn Press, 2016. I forgot to mention the press for Mooncussers. That's
Lucador.
That's Lucador
too.
as
Yeah.
well. Mm-hmm. Anthologies include Mightier Poets for Social Justice and Calling All Poets, 20th Anniversary Anthology, Caps Press, Reflecting Pool, Poets and the Creative Process, Cod Hill Press, 2018, Like Light, 25 Years of Poetry and Prose, Bright Hill Press, 2018, Water Rights, a Hudson River Anthology, Cod Hill Press, 2009, among others. A 2016 Pushcart nominee, Mike is president of Calling All Poets, now in its 23rd year in the Hudson Valley. Mike's radio show, New Jazz Excursions, can be heard on WIOX 91.3 FM, and he loves Emily most of all.
Indeed.
So, Mike, and Emily is your
Wife.
Mm-hmm.
31 years.
31 years. So let's talk about Adrift. I mean, I love that. I loved your reading of it. Would you consider that spoken word with music?
Yeah, it's a performance piece. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
spoken word with music, about right. Yeah.
And when was this piece created?
That piece was created in 1991.
Wow.
I had an M1 that was at that time a state-of-the-art synthesizer, and I just went crazy with it. And then I looked up different words for adrift and put them all together.
Very nice. Very nice. Very sonic. And the music is yours, too.
Yes. Yeah, it's mine. It kind of came very haphazardly, but yeah, it's mine.
Well, it holds together. It's quite cohesive, actually.
It works with the piece because it's drifting.
Right. It wanders like like a lot of very good poetry, it
It
wanders.
It goes from one place to the next. The only thing that would make it better is if I sounded like Rod Serling, but I don't.
Oh, but then everybody would say, "Is that Rod Serling?" It would be a terrible distraction, actually. So, was this the first piece of music you created for your poetry?
I think it's the first piece that we actually published, yeah. I mean, I was always noodling somehow, but I think that's the first piece, yeah.
Well, you know, poetry goes really well with music, and also creates its own music without needing other actual music.
Yeah, the words are music when you try
Yes.
to put them together, right?
Right. And your latest collection is Mooncussers, which is one word,
One word.
no capitals. I love that. And would you read a poem from Mooncussers for us?
I certainly will.
Thank
And
you.
this one's entitled Swimming with Picasso. Swimming with Picasso was all fun and games until we both conceded we couldn't swim. And everything reassembled. Arms, legs, nipples akimbo, elbows, eyebrows, monkfish cheeks, treble sevens, dancing deers. Maya, Marie, Olga, Dora, all of them reclining, with jutting nose, the rolling eye, a ballerina mistress, the punishment of art. Shipwrecked cur that he was, he set the beach afire. Siren scream, toddler dash. In his rampaging light, I unmoored his shoddy boat into the cursing tide, leaving him his brushes and the wreckage of the sea.
That's really lovely. That was Mike Jurkovic reading Swimming with Picasso. And you put all his wives and lovers and mistresses in there. I think only one escaped. I forget who that one was.
I think it was the first one, wasn't it? It was either Maya or Marie. I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember either. But and Olga, poor suffering Olga, the ballerina.
She got the worst of it
But I
all.
like when it's very specific imagery, and then you put in there the line about the punishment of art. It's a great line.
With that the whole poll came from we saw. I think it was in Philadelphia where we saw it. Actually, it was Picasso and all the works that he had done along the French seaside. And everybody else in his family or community would be swimming, and he couldn't swim. And then all of a sudden, the idea came to me because I can't swim either. So I was like, okay, let's see what happens.
I'm a bad swimmer. I can keep myself alive if I have to.
I couldn't.
So it's great because the failure at swimming sort of causes this fraction, this factionizing of the body. It's really interesting. And
Yeah.
you put that.
Yeah, the piece came to me. I worked on it a lot, but then finally I got happy with it.
That's interesting to be happy with a poem. That's hard to do sometimes, right? You
Most of the time.
Yeah, you have to know. You have to know when it's finished, and it's very hard to know sometimes. But that's wonderful. Is there a common thread through your poems in Mooncussers, Mike?
I'd like to say there is, but I really can't swear to it. I guess with the characterizations there would be, but the whole idea behind a mooncusser is a land pirate. It's part of the legends from old New England, and what the mooncussers were is that they were land pirates, and when the night was foggy and cloudy and there was no moon to guide the boats into shore, they would all go out with lanterns, and they would wreck the boat and then loot it. So I'm like, well, nobody in this book is really looting anything, but maybe they could curse at the moon if they really had to. So I just fell in love with the idea of mooncussers.
So these were people on land who went to the boats. So it's sort of the opposite of a pirate.
They were but they basically call them land pirates, yeah.
It's a great word.
They would, and the really strange thing about this is, and I had some friends from the city bring it up to me. They were like, wow, you took that title from a Disney film. And I'm like, what? And I looked it up, and I can't remember if it was 1961 or earlier, but Disney actually put out a movie called Mooncussers.
Oh, my, never heard of it.
Never heard of it. You won't find it on Disney Plus either. You got to look for it on YouTube.
Interesting. Well, of course, they took it from probably the same source you took it
Could
from.
be.
Right, but this is Planet Poet Words in Space. I'm Sharon Israel, your host, and this is WIOX Community Radio. We're live and local from the Catskills, and my in-studio guest, who I reintroduce, is poet and performance artist and composer and host of CAPS, Mike Jurkovic. And I practiced your name, Mike, to say it, and I even put the accent over the
Thank you for that.
So I wouldn't screw it up. But it's a great name. And I'm going to read a couple of comments and blurbs that are on the back, I guess the back page of Mooncussers.
Mm-hmm.
From suburban streets to worldwide events, Jurkovic fights back with humor, ranging from dry to hilarious. Everything is political, and Jurkovic doesn't care what you think. He'll keep writing dis-turbing notes and speak his mind. His new collection, Mooncussers, provides entertaining lessons for us to emerge from the matrix that keeps our minds imprisoned. And that's Patricia Carragon, Curator, Editor-in-Chief, Brownstone Poets in Brooklyn, and author of Angel Fire, Alien Buddha Press. And also, here's another, a poet of intense precision, a collection of little daggers that head straight to the heart of things. And that's a comment by John Pielmeier, playwright of Agnes of God, screenwriter, novelist of Hook's Tale. So that was a wonderful. And I think your work it's nice, it's lovely on the page, and you read it beautifully also.
Thank you.
So, Mike, would you read us a second poem from Mooncussers?
All righty. This is a short one, and it's called Fork Misplaced. In the shanty hut of memory, I put down my things. Prepare tea, a bowl of grain, arrange my space into the same order. Kitchen, bedroom, bathroom, den. A small room for secrets. My desk skewing east. The bed aligned, shoes missing, fork misplaced.
That's Mike Jurkovic reading his poem, Fork Misplaced. And it's sort of a modest memory palace, in a way.
And, it was, and yet I wanted it to reflect basically the loss of memory. That's what I was going for. So this person remembers certain things, but then when it comes down to the real essentials, like having to eat, can't remember. And I think happens too often to too many good people.
Right.
Yeah.
Mike, I always thought of it as like your daily writing practice too. You set up your bowl, you misplaced your fork, but you sort of set up a space. So I was wrong about that. I think.
Nah, that's okay.
No?
I mean, I have been known to write while I was eating. That's fine. Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about your daily writing practice? I'm fascinated.
Well, I get up about 3:30 in the morning.
Wow.
Unless the cats wake me up earlier to feed them.
How many cats do you have?
3.
Whoa.
And so Jack, it's Captain Jack, Chloe, and Manny. Sounds like a garage, but so I'll get up around 3:30 in the morning and make myself a cup of tea, and get to it. I'll just sit down and try writing very freely. Maybe I have nothing in mind. Maybe there's something if I'm working on a jazz review or something, or a CD or a book review, obviously I've got something in mind. But if I'm just sitting down and free scaling, I'm just going for it. And I will not edit at that point. If I think I've got something, I won't edit it there. I'll come back next day, 2 days later, edit that. And walk around the house reading it to myself, And when it sounds good, hopefully it is good.
That's really great to read it out loud.
I really find, that's one of the things that we do at CAPS. We record everything. And people have found that going back and listening to the recordings, it's like, that line sounds so stupid, I don't need it. Or I read that line wrong, but I like how it sounded, so I changed it. So I've always been one that believed that listening and hearing it back is the way to do it. Sometimes, it's the easiest thing. You can just talk into your phone and just play it back to yourself.
That's true. That's really true.
You know?
And it's good to have other people read back your work too, and gives you a more of a distance. But the musicality of the poem or whatever you're writing, it could be anything. It really, really helps when you read it out loud.
I'm very concerned, even when I'm writing freely, I'm very concerned with the rhythm of the piece. There always has to be some kind of interior rhythm to it, even if it's only in my crazy head, but it still has to be.
Well, it has a cohesiveness when it has an internal rhythm that makes sense. But I have to ask you, what time do you go to bed in order to get up at 3:30, or do you go to bed early, and then do you go to bed? Did you go back to sleep after you write?
Sometimes I do. Sometimes I'll go back to sleep. Like say I feel wiped out, like around 6, maybe 6:30. I'll go back to bed for another hour or something.
Sure, that makes sense.
But what happens? What time do I go to bed? Somewhere usually between 10:30 and 11. You know?
So you don't need that much sleep.
I never have.
Wow.
But they're telling me as I get older, I might need more. So we'll see what happens.
So, Mike, who are your influences, and when? I have so many questions. And when did you start writing? Because you're very productive. You've had a lot of books published.
I really started writing back in when I was a kid, because my parents would, for a good report card, my parents would buy me the old Aurora superhero models, okay, or the monster models, or whichever one I wanted.
You mean like
really.
Godzilla and stuff?
Yeah, like Godzilla, Frankenstein, Superman, Batman, and I would make them, and then I would start making up little stories about them. And of course, the stories were stupid, but it kept me interested in constantly working with words. And then, obviously, when the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and Dylan came along, it's like, and Joni Mitchell, and it's like, oh man, listen to the way they're doing. So I got into songwriting for a while. I've worked with several musicians. I still do in the Hudson Valley, writing a song here and there. So I've just always been doing it.
And your influences, poets that you like?
Well, originally it was Robert Creeley and Denise Levertov, because she was so outspoken about the wars and stuff. I think that's what lent to my politicalness. But then you start, deeping digger, and it's Jack Kerouac, of course, Allen Ginsberg,
the New York school.
The New York school. Jane Hirschfield was a real big influence on me. So was Mary Oliver to a certain extent for the nature end of it.
And the lyricism, I guess, too.
Dylan, Joni Mitchell, Randy Newman. They would. I think that's where the music of it all comes in. They heard the music for what they were doing, and I try to hear it on this.
Right. I find the process of rewriting sometimes difficult, because if you're revising, you have to. Usually, when you write something down from the beginning, there is an internal rhythm and musicality, and you have to be careful. For me, when I revise, not to kill it. It's
that's always a problem.
It's really a problem.
One of the things and I have this argument with several writer friends of all, whatever it is that they write, is now that we have computers and digital stuff, you can keep every revision. And so that you can see how you've done it. And I don't do that. As soon as I revise something, it goes in the garbage. I hit delete, because I would just be so confused.
It's confusing. I have to date everything.
Even if I did that, I'd be confused.
Yeah. But sometimes I realize that the first draft is better than the revision, or I lost something and I have to go back. But to keep all of them is like it's madness.
No, I have a friend who does it on spreadsheets.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh God, no, I couldn't do that. I can't.
For each poem, he has a spreadsheet.
For revisions and stuff. That's just. I won't give away his name, but.
So, Mike, would you read another poem from Mooncussers for us?
Okay, this one I've been reading for a while. I guess you could call it one of my greatest hits. And it's because I just think Gracie Allen was the funniest person ever. And this is called Gracie. There's a grammatical error up ahead that will change everything. How and why, I don't know, because off the top of my head, each mad essay must cast doubt on the one before it, or at least lend a hand to its aberrant cause, which makes for unsure seasons, rising seas, and a lack of wonder. And I know you all have better places to be, like Dunkin' Donuts or debtor's jail, so I'll try to get to where I'm getting at before I get to where I'm going, which was to talk about Gracie Allen, who knew that today's postage stamp was yesterday's head of state, that a country of checks and balances relies mostly on those checks, and that you never place a comma where God has put a period.
I love the rising seas and a lack of wonder. And does that relate to Gracie Allen and her well, she was such a brilliant woman. Her timing was impeccable. And she really used her husband, George Burns, like a straight man.
Oh, he absolutely was a straight man.
Right.
Yeah.
But there was always in her a sort of quality of wonder.
Yes.
Or of, could you talk about more of that, or what you think about her in terms of this poem?
I just find her remarkable. She just found any moment that she thought would be funny, she made it funny. And that is not only is that a special gift, that's like a higher power type of gift, that you can take even the most mundane thing, twist it around 17 times, and make it as funny as all get out. It leaves you wondering. And I think when you don't wonder anymore, that's that lack of wonder I was talking about.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, well, she would take, like you said, the most mundane things, and you sort of had to think about what she was doing. There's a little lag there between the laugh,
Yes,
because the audience was not as smart as she was, so to get it. And also in the show, if I remember correctly, George Burns, he was like he had surveillance.
Yes, he did. He had his own TV. That's right.
TV, watching everybody come and go.
And he still couldn't beat her.
He couldn't.
He couldn't.
He would think he would get the upper hand.
Yep.
But then she'd come in and destroy everything.
Everything.
That he said.
I think one of the great ones was she brought painters to the house, and the guy says, "Well, if it takes 2 coats, it's got to charge you more." And she goes, "Well, what if you do it in your T-shirt?" And it's like, you got to think about that for a minute. It's like, what?
It's in the tradition of Dada, and and she's an absurdist.
To the nth degree.
Very absurdist, and like the Marx Brothers, only more so, because she was this very cute petite woman who, you wouldn't give her a second look as a model of the 50s or something, and then these things would come out of her mouth. So. And
there weren't too many women like her because they just weren't allowed to be like her.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, but that patriarchy fell quick. So.
Right. Well, it's not quick enough for some. But,
well, not quick enough for some. I buy that. But.
Would you read the poem again? We have a little time.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
You want me to read Gracie again?
Sure. Or if you want to read another one, that's fine with me. But let's hear Gracie again, since we've talked about her.
There's a grammatical error up ahead that will change everything. How and why, I don't know, because off the top of my head, each mad essay must cast doubt on the one before it, or at least lend a hand to its aberrant cause, which makes for unsure seasons, rising seas, and a lack of wonder. And I deep down know you have better places to be, like Dunkin' Donuts or debtor's jail. So I'll try to get to where I'm getting at before I get to where I'm going. Which was to talk about Gracie Allen, who knew that today's postage stamp was yesterday's head of state, that a country of checks and balances relies on those checks, and that you never place a comma where God has put a period.
That's beautiful. That's Mike Jurkovic reading Gracie again. That line sticks with me about the today's postage stamp was yesterday's head of state.
That's all her quote.
Is that really true?
I can't even take credit for the poem. That's her quote.
Oh my God! It's sort of like found words. That's fantastic. Well, you're listening to Planet Poet, Words in Space. Sharon Israel, I'm in the studio with poet and performance artist Mike Jurkovic. And Mike, we have another wonderful musical poetry experience coming up for all of us. And why don't you just start and we'll talk about it after?
Okay.
Is that good?
Yeah, it sounds great.
Okay.
Hear Monet's bamboo, pray the wind, the bird song of Jivani ascends. I climb this mountain to root myself, be cut by the wind of season. Mingus and the moon over Mohang, the myths, the mountain melody. Sunrise, East Dog Hammarskjöld Plaza. Weeping cherries, springtime snow. Overlook mountain undresses, fog falls away, Ohio peeks in. The warm contour of her neck cradled in the crook of my arm, asleep. I found the color of this moment reflected in her wedding ring. The world does its work, sways the hay grass, shakes the trees, holds the leaves alight. To the wonder of who I am, I bear my heart to the morning sun. Every labor a learning, every learning a few steps closer home. We are each other's work, each other's passion, our harbors at day's end. I cleaned the bathrooms on Valentine's Day. Love is many needed works. The snow is falling. I do not feel so alone in the world right now. The unforgiving work of revolution is in all of our hands. The squirrels on Cape Cod all wear fishermen's caps. Squirrels on Cape Cod. Through stained glass mornings, we wander, so unaware of mercy shining. We are pilgrims, works in progress, simple servants of this bright new day. You are God's gift to yourself, before becoming your gift back to God. Water lilies and turtles in the rain. The whole world moves without me. I need only work with one basket. Empty it. Fill it. Empty. Fill. Fireflies aglow as if the stars have fallen on our wild meadow. We are a tangle of chargers, legs, arms, minds, hearts, and our private parts. Church bells ringing as the homeless prepare once more for the cold, cold rain. Prayers reach heaven from here, high above the sandlot, every pitch a prayer.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
That was Mike Jurkovic reading his haiku from his book Blue Fan Whirring. And against the music, or with the music, did you create that music for this?
That music was written by my good friend, my brother actually, Stephen Worthy.
Oh.
We were in a group together back in the 90s called New Nervous Voice, and it basically was spoken word and music. Some of them were more sung than spoken, but that was one of the tracks that we never really finished, and when I get a chance to use it for the haikus,
It works perfectly.
Thank you.
Blue Fan Whirring is a collection of small poems,
Yep.
of haiku, and they're not necessarily strict 5-7-5?
No, I do try my best to do 5-7-5, but I don't do it in that traditional where each line has to end and then it starts another, then it starts. everything is made to, if not be modular, then at least to be revised.
Yes. Or customized.
Customized. I learned that especially from Kerouac, whose haikus sometimes are nowhere near the idea of what a haiku. But he did it, and he did it like no one else did it, and God bless him for it. So I keep that in mind.
Well, they work so beautifully together, and they are separate works, but they flow in parallel feeling, and it's sort of collaged together, I would imagine. How would you describe reading those?
That way?
Yeah. Did they sequential?
I think
the pages?
No, they're not according to the pages.
Okay.
Actually, I kind of cheated. Most of them are from Blue Fan Waring, but one of them I actually wrote yesterday.
Nice. Which one?
The one about the prayers in the Sandlot.
Nice.
And the couple of the others are from another collection I'm working on called Monet's Bamboo. And if people want to see more of it or listen to more of it, they can go up on my YouTube thing, and there's different videos of my pictures with music put together with the haikus on it.
Could you give us the link for that, Mike?
Oh, God.
It's Mike...
Mike Jurkovic, YouTube.
Jurkovic?
Just go
okay.
there, yeah.
And that's Jurkovic. It puts you in a state just to listen. The music sort of helps the brain take in somehow.
My friend who I do some of the songwriting with, John Martucci, who lives in New Paltz, he's put together, I'll say, John, I got a couple haiku or a few haiku, and he'll say, all right, give me a few days. And he'll put together like these 2 or 3 minute things, and he'll say, here, if you like it, do it.
Nice.
And, he's got his little 8-track studio at home, and he messes around with it, and that's how we do it.
Fantastic. So what made you write an entire book with haiku?
It's just, I really... Because I think there's probably 18,000 haiku lying around my house somewhere.
Okay.
And some of them are good, and some of them are nowhere. I don't care if I ever find them. And when Narava Press approached me about, putting a book together, I said, listen, if I do it, I want to try something different. And they said, what do you have in mind? I said, haiku. And he was like, okay, go for it. So
nice.
They trusted me enough to do that, so I appreciate it.
I have a friend who starts her day writing a haiku. Do you do that in your daily practice?
No, it's weird. They come and go. I hadn't written a haiku in ages until yesterday. And that prayers in the Sandlot came to me, and another one came to me, but it wasn't anywhere near as good as that one, at least in my brain.
Well, I like the juxtaposition of the everyday Sandlot with prayers. And that always works so well, I think.
I was actually up in the mountains, but for some reason, and it was prayers reach heaven from here, and I just didn't want to say mountain. No, high above the Sandlot. That seemed to work better.
Very nice. And you have photographs in the book, like every few pages of haiku, and these are your photographs.
Yes.
In the book, they're black and white. You said
they are in color.
Can we see them in color somewhere?
You can't see them in color if you go up on YouTube and watch the videos. Yeah.
That's lovely.
I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4. I think there's like 4 or 5 haiku videos up there.
And these are from your home, near your home in the Hudson Valley? Most of these photographs?
Yeah, they're wherever we go. I mean, some of the, like the ones about Monet's, because we went to Giverny a few years back. But most of them are written in the Hudson Valley, absolutely.
Tell me about Monet's Bamboo. I didn't know
When you go into his garden at his house in Giverny, there's this stand of bamboo along this brook. It's a very still brook. But you always hear the wind blowing through these things, no matter how light the wind is. You can always, one way or the other, the bamboo is kind of just brushing against each other or knocking against each other.
An instrument, like an aeolian harp or something.
Yeah, and I just caught my imagination when we were there, and I was just like, I got to do something with that. And it's just the idea of Monet's Bamboo stuck in my brain.
It's a great title. It's a great title.
Yeah, thank you.
It really is. So, Mike, you have a collection called American Mental.
I do, yes.
And that's all one word, capital A, capital M. Would you read something with music again from that.
Yep.
And this music is yours or another friend's?
No, again, this is Steve Worthy.
Steve Worthy.
He wrote the music to this, yeah.
And what's the name of this?
This is called Two Old Men, and just to correct it, it's not actually in the book, but it's on the CD because it felt of a piece with the work itself.
I see. So you created the book, and then from there you created a CD.
Yep.
Well, here is Mike Jurkovic reading Two Old Men.
Two old men in suspenders, sitting in the morning mist, casting off the shore. Funny how that cool old breeze don't blow by here no more. Funny how the kids today can't seem to get along. Hey Barney, can you tell me where this old world's gone wrong? Honest Jake, I don't know, I can't say. Is that an eel on your line? Words of hate and hearts of hate, you hears them all the time. From preachers who preach anger, Jake, that's all I know. And yeah, it's funny how that breeze, it don't blow by here no more. Most our children running bad for money, sex, and drugs, kicking all us elderly when all we've got is love, thinking they the top man with all their guns and all, and if they're so smart, why can't they see? We are all gonna fall, my friend. We are all gonna fall. Shoot, man, Jake, I don't know. I struggled up with you, and I learned that, man, black and white, they got to pay their due. But these white kids ain't no better. They're all cut from the same cloth. And damn, it's hot down here today. Like I'm breathing in a broth. It's the blood that's hot, it's the mind that's hot, like my soul is set to steaming, and no one stops to dream no more. They're all too busy scheming, hustling this and hustling that is all today's about. Now Jake, I'm real glad I've been here, but I'm glad I'm getting out, my man. I'm damn glad I'm getting out. I hear you, friend, I hear you good. Though I hates to give up hope, 'cause we ain't never done that since they brought us on the boat. But man, one can't help but think it's all coming to an end. And yeah, I hear the horsemen coming, a-coming around the bend.
And that was Mike Jurkovic reading Two Old Men with accompanying music. It was very powerful.
I have to, if I can just interject,
Please.
I have to give Emily credit for that one because she fought with me. She goes, if you don't put it on the book, at least put it on the CD. It belongs on the CD. It's part of the story. And I was like, no, because Nick had done such a great job musically. Nick Bazant's my guitar player. Mm-hmm. And she eventually talked me into it. I said, you know what, it fits there. So I put it at the end as kind of like a epilogue almost type of thing.
Well, American Mental, that title, could you explain the title?
Hey, man, it's the Trump era.
Okay, so that was during the Trump era.
Yeah, it was just, I mean, the craziness persists. So hopefully the good people persist in its place. But American Mental is a total reflection of a town that's kind of fallen apart.
Of a specific town?
I can't say the name.
Sure.
I make up the name, and I can't say that either because that's one of the 7 words you can't say.
Oh, okay.
But
we'll leave it to the audience's
we'll leave
imagination.
it to the, but it's all in reaction to the last 6-7 years, whatever it's been.
Well, also it's the breeze don't blow no more brought us on the boat. It's the history of this country in a way, from an African American perspective.
That's what Emily was arguing about. She goes, you're talking about specific 5 years in history, and there's more of it
Oh, yes.
before that. She goes,
Absolutely.
so, after enough arguing and going back and forth, it was like, yeah, you know what? I'll clean the recording up, and I brought it to a friend's studio in New Paltz. He cleaned it up for me, and we added it on to the.
Is that real instruments?
Yeah,
clarinet?
it's all synthesized. Stephen had
it
a
is.
synthesizer.
Okay. It's so interesting about you and Emily talking about this because you had something specific in mind, but it became much more universal without you having to try. I mean, when I'm listening to it, and the fact that the apocalypse is coming and it's here, I think of the climate change, so no more breezes, the mind that's hot. And I also get intimations of waiting for Godot. I don't know if you meant that, but
no.
It was like an Americanized or Jurkovicized waiting for Godot.
Hey, you know what?
I really like that.
I think part of our job as writers, I didn't mean to cut you off. I think
Sure.
part of our job as writers is let the people interpret it as it goes. Everybody's got their interpretation.
Well, that's when a poem is successful, the reader interacts with the writer.
Mm-hmm.
Mike, would you read another one from American Mental called Irreversible Future?
Yep. All right, I'm going to read this one because it's one of the cleaner ones I can read.
Okay.
And it's called The Irreversible Future. We oohed and awed at the 64 World's Fair and the droids that would take away our work and give us more time with the kids, more time to smoke, to read and watch, to drink and make love and make love and make love some more. Rare metallic arms did the work of 50 men without unions and overtime. Her hulking huge brains sprayed pretty light and reasoned all our equations. The atom had no blowback. The wonderful world of chemistry was just one pill ahead. We marveled at modems and picture phones. Big oil gave us dinosaurs. The happy plastic family heartened us all. Different trips, same monkey, Disney ruled the air. Weather stations under the Arctic ice would correct the world's climate. The cities of the future had no ghetto that we could see. They were less sad and frantic than those to come. No one homeless, no one alone. Jetpacks, ooh. Space stations, ah. The deserts became farms where dark robots picked the fruit. The Mick was there, I saw him. Amid the supercars, the Kennedy, without Jack, for the darkness had just dawned. We oohed and awed, zipping on the monorail, carrying our radiated nickels and dimes. Or were they pennies? I forgot all about the poor. We explored the mysteries of a woman's mind. Wisconsin cheese. 3D led to 4G, then 5. They say we don't need 6. We oohed and awed and became.
That's Mike Jurkovic reading Irreversible Future from his collection American Mental. That's read beautifully, Mike, very musically. How does that look on the page when you say ood and odd? Is that separate or?
No.
No?
Yeah, it's just all part
Let
of the
me
line.
see. Oh, yeah.
We oohed and awed, and awed.
Nice. Yeah, it looks nice on the page. The wonderful world of chemistry. I love that line. That's great. It reminds me of you doing your models, your Godzilla models.
Yeah,
and
the
stuff.
Godzilla, yeah.
I don't know why, but it did. But the irreversible future, which we're coming upon. So this is a very dark book.
Yes, that was the idea behind it.
Yeah, the dark robots pick the fruit.
The dark robots, and again, it was meant to be a reflection. Irreversible Future was actually one of the first pieces that I wrote and started to think of the whole idea of American Mental. And then the very first poem in the book, called Marty's 81, which I can't read online, I can't read on the radio, was the second, and that was an actual true story. And then everything else just came after that.
How long did it take you to write?
I'm going to say maybe 5-6 months, because several of the pieces are older ones that I rearranged and managed to squeeze into the story. And then the newer ones just shaped themselves around that.
So the design of the book was nice. You incorporated old and new for that.
Yes, absolutely.
That's
yeah.
great. I can't believe this has gone. We have like only a few minutes left, and I want to talk about Calling All Poets, known as CAPS, in its 23rd year, and you are the president. It's in the Hudson Valley. Could you just talk about it?
Okay, Calling All Poets was founded 23 years ago by my brother and my friend Jim Eve, and we were both running separate organizations. And he kept after me and kept after me and kept after me. I was doing a thing at Monkey Joe's in Kingston that was very successful, Voices of the Valley. And he kept after me. He said, come on, man, come on, let's just join the two things together. So somewhere around 2003, 2004, we joined them all together. And we were doing live events in Beacon for many years. And we moved to New Paltz after a few years. And now we're totally Zoom, like everybody is pretty much.
Right.
I had a friend from Paris just recently. I was Zooming with him on Sunday, and he goes, Mike, you want to know the amazing thing about CAPS? He goes, sometimes open mics can get boring really quick. He goes, there is never a boring open mic with CAPS. We do every first Friday, and we do every third Thursday. First Friday is 3 features and a 5-minute open mic, and third Thursdays is 1 feature and an extended open mic. So instead of 5 minutes, maybe it runs to 7-8 minutes a person. And it's also, the third Thursday has actually become its own beast, I guess you could say, because it's become more salon-like, actually. So people are commenting, and we get people from Australia, France, England, all over Europe, all over the United States now. So to say that, you know, I know it sounds insane, but the pandemic was good to CAPS, because we just have so many people now, and not just Hudson Valley, not just New York State, not just Albany, because there's such a great scene up in Albany.
Yes, Dan Wilcox.
Dan Wilcox, Mary Panza, Tom
show.
Francis, just great people up there. And, you know, it's all broadened out. We've all started shaking each other's hands through this thing called Zoom.
It's wonderful. And you also have your own radio show every other week on WIOX called New Jazz Excursions.
Yep. What that is every alternating Saturday, 10 to noon time. And, I mean, we all know the icons, Coltrane, Mingus, Billie Holiday. I'm trying to throw the spotlight on the great new names that are around. People like Veronica Swift, Emmett Cohen, Sullivan Fortner. I mean, there's just so many brilliant young players now. So in my capacity as a CD reviewer for All About Jazz, I get all the new music. So when my ear latches onto something, it's like, okay, let's take a couple tracks from that, play it here. So that's what I'm hoping to do, is just focus on the new stuff.
Very nice. You're doing an important thing. So, Mike, upcoming events, I want you to read one more poem. Okay. But that's the CAPS. People want to know more about CAPS. They can go to Facebook page. You can go to the Calling All Poets series Facebook page, or you can go to www.callingallpoets.net. You can you can read all about us. You can also register for the Zoom events online there too. Excellent, excellent. So, Mike, with music again, would you read your last poem for us, Light Between Buildings? I'm actually going to combine 2 poems on that. Oh, okay. Yep. Okay, great. A lot of times when rainbows provide, I find myself dancing through God's good hour with the same sidestep my father passed down and limbo into the light between buildings. 'Cause what else does a street kid have but his own longitude, his own latitude, and a whole lot of stage between him and the waiting rain? The fleeting cellist found herself lost among the woodwinds, bumping into music stands, bruising her chambermates. Barely taller than her burden, like herself made of wood and glue, pegbox and scroll. The harpsichord's chair is deserted, but everyone's getting out of town. The gig has come to an end, and if
And if the wolf tones are true, leaner days are coming, and New York is no place for players who cannot hold their own.
It's Mike Jurkovic reading against his dream music. And this gig is coming to an end, but not your gig.
No, not.
So this has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much, Mike
Thank you.
Jurkovic.